All right, welcome everybody. It is the Three of Strong webinar that we're doing here today, and it is the Future of Craft Rum, your chance to be a part of our story. I'm Dave McConnell. I'm one of the co-founders of Three of Strong Spirits, and I'm here with Sam Purse, one of the other co-founders of Three of Strong, and Graham Hamblett, who was employee number one and who is our distiller here. We're going to be taking a high-level view of craft rum and RTD market, talk about why and how we do things differently than many of our competitors, what lies ahead for us, and why we hope you'll join our community of owners if you haven't already taken the plunge. Feel free to post your questions in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to answer them. Plus, by being here today, you are entered in a drawing to win a free $50 gift card. First, I guess starting with you, Sam, why rum?
Thanks, Dave. And hi, everyone. Happy to talk about this topic. Obviously, this is a near and dear to our hearts thing. I think that there are a couple different reasons. First, I'm obviously a rum lover. It's sort of where I always gravitated towards. I would say that most people talk about their spirits experience later in life. I would say I started out early, probably. Lawyer Dave, close your ears. In high school, I was a high school rum lover, so we've now gotten moved up the chain. But what we saw in the rum space when Dave asked me about doing this idea was, and thank you, Dave. But I think the thing that really stuck out to us was that unlike other spirits, rum hadn't had its craft moment yet. And by craft moment, I basically am talking about there's the presence of a large provider of a service, of a good that is not necessarily the best instance of what the spirit could be. So in the going back to my younger days, I'll equate it to when there was only a single brand of tequila out there, and in order to get through it, you always had to do it as a shot with lime and salt to get through it. Now, if you think of where the market
I have
is
some bad
now in
memories associated with that tequila. Carry on.
uh, I'm getting poached by the moderator. Anyways, we had that was, if you think of where that market is now, there is so many more opportunities, and so that's what I mean by a craft moment. And rum hasn't had it. We do have a couple of big providers that do put rum on shelves and sell a fair amount of volume, but they're not that good. They can be better. In fact, one of the things we learned, because as I said, I've always been a rum fan, and for me, rum was something that I always knew the concept of sipping rums was a big thing. When we got into this space, it was really interesting to learn how many people had a very limited sense of what rum could be. So when we talk about a rum revolution that we're doing here at Three of Strong, it's really about us being able to do a product that's already in the market, but do it better in a more thoughtful way, and in a more thoughtful way as a business, so that at the end of the day, not only are we doing the product the right way, but we're also moving it forward. Now, flash forward 7 years once we've been up and running a little bit, and now we're seeing a similar opportunity that we can also do in the canned cocktail space, in the ready to drink space. This is an area of product that is exponentially growing, the fastest growing part of the spirits world, and it is being successful. But again, a lot of what's out there is not that good. So to do something like we do that's all natural, uses fresh juice, uses real juices, in it. That makes a pretty significant difference, and do it with our own rum rather than a alcohol that isn't even necessarily classified as anything other than alcohol, not even rum or any other distinction. It's just alcohol that's added and then covered up with a bunch of flavors. We found when you use a real good base rum in these products, you can actually create them in such a way that they taste like a real cocktail. So that people, when they try them, enjoy them and often say to us, I had no idea a canned cocktail could be like that. So that's a long-winded answer to what craft is and why we saw an opportunity, why we got into rum, besides our own personal taste uh, uh, aspects. But in order to actually execute it, then we had to find a way to do that. And that's where we were blessed to find Graham was able to step in and create processes that would actually make this work better.
Yeah, and I want to ask Graham about some of those things, the processes, the things that we do differently, and why we do them. Before we get into that, Sam, do you have any kind of facts and figures that you'd be able to share in terms of the upside, the potential here, and the growth in the category of rum and
Yeah,
wines?
we can show a slide. I believe that has that information from our deck. Do you have a slide selected for that, Dave?
I do, shockingly, I do not have that slide
So
selected.
interesting.
Yes, no. Do
Hopefully,
you
it's
how how about if we'll shift, let's do this. While you, Sam, if you go grab a slide and get that ready, we will shift gears and ask Graham again, like Graham, tell us about the process. What do you how do you make the magic happen?
before we go there, I do want to say this is the beauty of highly skilled professionals doing live presentations. We're you just can't find this type of support everywhere. So just wanted to throw that out to the world.
We put all our focus, folks, into production of the rum, not production values for our webinars. Okay, just keep that in mind.
We
Anyway,
have we have day jobs. That's right.
yes, yes. So, how about your day job, Graham? What sort of stuff do we do at Three Strong that's not the same as everybody else?
Yeah, yeah. I think to kind of talk about the future of our rum, I like to kind of go back and at least kind of highlight some of the stuff I've done in the past, which has kind of gotten us to where we are now, and then eventually going forward, where uh, I've been in the alcohol industry for 25, almost 30 years. Started at a winery, learned fermentation, which ultimately is one of the key points of distillation and creating rum and spirits in general. But what I learned at the winery was the fermentation and how important the yeast selection is. Um, and that translates to a lot of the character that you find in our finished spirits across the board. So the process that we're doing is a very kind of slow and gentle procedure. We like to say in the production area that you can taste the patience because every step that we do is very intentional, and it usually takes a little bit longer than a lot of other kind of industrial distillers will use. And that does start with the fermentation, and included in that is the high quality ingredients that we're using. We're using organic based sugarcane, so minimally processed granulated sugar, sometimes known as evaporated cane juice. Um, it's much more closely related to the flavors and aromas and all the character that you'd find in fresh pressed cane juice. Um, and then we're also using organic fancy molasses. There's many different grades of molasses. All the way from where what we're using is sort of the high end fancy molasses, same stuff that a lot of times you cook with. It's got a lot of sugar, a lot of nice sweet flavors. And then as you process molasses, it kind of goes down the grade to ultimately to the kind of the bottom of the totem pole to blackstrap. So between those two ingredients, which are the base for almost all of our rums, I wanted to approach really highlighting and showcasing those ingredients. And to do that, you have to ferment with a yeast that will sort of highlight and bring forth a lot of the kind of fruity and floral notes that can be essentially trapped in these ingredients. So we're using essentially a wine yeast or a champagne yeast that is a very hardy fermenter. It loves eating sugar and converting that to alcohol. And during that fermentation, again, it kind of really brings forth a lot of nice fruity and floral aromas. So that fermented material, it's very nuanced. You might get a little bit of those characters, but the process of distillation is really a means of extracting and concentrating alcohol and flavors. So those little nuances that are created by the yeast during the fermentation cycle really travel through the still and become a very concentrated kind of distinct character in our rum. So that's one of the first steps of kind of the patience process that we use here. So what we'll do is we have a pot still, so it's not overly refined. The spirit really does speak for itself. There's not a lot of means to adjust flavor once this process starts. So what we'll do is we do a double distillation method on most of our rums, meaning we'll take that fermented material, do what's called a stripping run, which is sort of a hot, fast distillation to essentially get all those flavors and aromas and alcohol stripped out of that base fermented material. And then we'll go back, take that lower ABV, it's around 30% at this point. We'll put that back into the pot, redistill it. We do what are called the heads, hearts, and tails cuts, which is a means of kind of separating and isolating the desirable character compounds from the not so desirable compounds. So ultimately, we're just trying to create a nice heart, which is our base spirit that will go on down the line and eventually find its way into a bottle. So once we get that spirit run done, we have our heads, hearts, and tails. We're really focused on the hearts now. And after that second distillation, those hearts come off the still at around 140-ish proof or 70% alcohol. One additional step that we like to take is to rest this spirit. So a great example is our Brightwater Silver Rum. It's a silver rum. It's unaged, so it never goes into a barrel. But what we'd like to do is, I like to say, distill and chill. We put that base spirit into a stainless steel tank, so it's not going to pick up flavors or colors from what would if it was in a barrel. But it allows those flavors to kind of all regroup and meld together. I like to use the analogy, it's a lot like a pot of chili. When you make a pot of chili, you eat it that first night, tastes good. You reheat the leftovers a few days later, it always seems to taste better. Everything has kind of come together and created a much more cohesive flavor profile. Freshly cooked rum is very similar, where there's a lot of different compounds. So giving it about a minimum 3 month resting period allows all those flavors to kind of regroup, meld together. It really helps with the smoothness and the drinkability of our spirit. And that, again, that's about a 3 month process. And then the next step after resting in the tank, or if it's an aged rum sitting in a barrel for X amount of years, what we like to do is we take it from that high proof of still strength of around 140 and proof it down to bottle strength, which is on average 80 proof or 40% alcohol. And we do that by adding pure Sebago Lake water, which is we have a really good water source here in Portland. But it's not just dumping a bunch of water into this high proof spirit to bring it down to proof. If we do it too fast, you can shock the spirit. You can create some really funky off flavors that are irreversible. So again, one of those patient processes that we use is we add a little bit of water every day over the course of 2 to 3 weeks and just incrementally drop that proof down. And that is just another step of our whole portfolio here of the process that really helps maintain the integrity of the spirit. It really helps maintain that drinkability, that smoothness. And again, the whole goal was to really just highlight the quality ingredients that we're using. So again, a great example is our silver rum, our Brightwater. It's the base of mostly that evaporated cane juice, that granulated sugar. with a little bit of those some of that fancy molasses in there. And when you smell and sip that, you can really actually get those two different ingredients with that extra layer of what those flavors that the yeast had produced. Some little fruity floral notes in there. But ultimately, it's a very sippable silver rum, which is sort of kind of unheard of. A lot of silver
Yeah, I
rums.
was gonna say that's not really hasn't been a thing so much. I mean,
Yeah,
for me, that one of the exciting things about that kind of that taking that flagship Silver Rum Brightwater where it starts and saying, all right, do a side by side, like sip
sip
uh,
it.
unnamed other unaged rum side by side with Brightwater and you the difference is that you've just outlined, Graham. They're stark. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
And as
that's one
we've
of
said, we're never going to compete with the with unnamed multinational brands on price. So it's got to be better. And what you've just described does make just an incredibly superior product, whether you're sipping it or whether you're putting it in a cocktail. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that actually kind of rolls into the whole what Sam was saying about our canned cocktails, where we're using our rum that we make here in house as the only base alcohol for the cans. So it's not just the alcohol part of the cocktail; it's the actual flavor that we've built these recipes on. So it becomes a very, again, a distinct character in that canned cocktail that you won't find anywhere else because it is exclusively our rum.
Right on. Um, One question I want to turn back to Sam to talk about the numbers a little bit. But before we do, one thing, Graham, a lot of people will ask or say is, well, I don't drink rum because it's too sweet. Um, it's made from sugar, as you described. So, is it? I mean, is that true? Is Three Strong Rum really sweet?
Absolutely not. I don't like sweet stuff as a general rule. Um, and that is something I think we all agreed upon that, we've heard so many horror stories of people being like, I can't drink rum, it's too sweet. I had a bad experience, all that stuff. So that just really enforced the idea and our approach of letting, again, the spirit speak for itself and try not to add any official colors, artificial flavors, any sugar to mask anything. Everything is pretty much uh, a naked as spirit as we could provide and produce. So besides, our Merry Meeting spice rum, we do add a little sugar in there just to really balance the flavor. And the only other one is really the Nightwater, our dark rum, which we add just a touch of to molasses in, but not nearly enough to sweeten it really. It's really just to kind of richen the flavor and kind of deepen that color a little bit. But everything else is, again, it's a naked spirit that really kind of should speak for itself.
And that sugar gets consumed in the distillation process, right? The yeast eats it up and converts it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not going to
exactly.
be
So
residual sugars left over in it.
right, right. Yeah, the yeast do a good job of eating all that sugar, and then even during the distillation process, none of that sugar, if there was happened to be a little left behind that the yeast didn't consume, that wouldn't travel through the still anyway. So everything comes off the still dry with no sugar in it. So if you've ever had a sweet rum, that's because somebody is adding a lot of sugar and caramel coloring and whatever else to it to kind of sometimes to hide faults or to give that sense of smoothness because they're trying to hustle it out the door and kind of, again, that patience process that we use here kind of just naturally makes the product kind of smooth and very sippable.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, Sam, you've been waiting patiently with your slide, I know. And I want to circle back to you to talk about for the folks here who are wondering about a potential investment. If you can maybe, yeah, show us what the opportunity looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope everyone can see this all right. I mean, I think this is talking about the rum market and where it is right now. as you can see, we're in the high billion, the low billions currently for the market, but there is there's a lot of opportunity out there to continue to see it grow. And the market itself is a $260 billion market, is growing at that size. And the spirits are a big piece of that. And the cocktail, and what is interesting to us is the growth that we're seeing in rum. And this is sort of what we thought we'd see, is the growth in rum is not as much all across the board of the entire category, but more so it is at the premium and super premium level where we play. And one of the other things I didn't mention earlier in talking about the opportunity is, because rum hasn't had its craft moment yet, we have a great 12-year rum that we imported, knowing that when we started, we weren't going to have our own sipping rum right away. And in doing so, we put that out, a 12-year bottle, and you think of what you'd expect to pay for a 12-year bottle of anything. And the fact is that a 12-year-old bottle of rum, we started at a $50 price point for that bottle. It's now at 60, but we expect that over time, and especially for us, we're very excited. We might talk a little bit later, if we have time, about the working title series that we have. And we've just released our last year, we just released our 5-year rum working title bottle. And it's so exciting to have our own aged product start to appear. And it's gotten great reviews. But the fact of the matter is that aged product are going to keep accelerating in price as we go, as craft enters the space, as more opportunities, and again, as consumers start to understand what rum can be as opposed to what they think it is. So the traction in the market, the growth of the opportunity means that we're going to have opportunities to be out there. And one of the key contributors to this opportunity is RTDs, which I can talk to in the second slide, hopefully, which is basically looking at this market. This is the biggest, most growing part of the spirit space. It's taking product away from, beer and wine, percentages away from beer and wine, and it is where most of the growth in the spirit side is coming from. And there are multiple factors that go into it. In here we talk about the emergence of at-home culture, the idea that you can have your own mixologist in the can, as opposed to having it if you do it well. Obviously, portability is a whole different thing that you can do, and again, not requiring individual expertise. And that convenience factor is so important for the current and growing market of spirits enjoyers that may not have grown up in my parents' age, when you often would have your one cocktail you do, and you might add tonic, and you might add a single thing and then move on. As mixology grew and as everyone got excited about doing that, people learned to do more with their bottle. But one of the biggest questions we got as we've been going along here was, okay, I've got a great bottle, it's delicious, what do I do with it? And we have cocktail recipes on the website. We have other ways that you can access the products. But at the end of the day, you've got a bunch of consumers now that are really interested in just give me the easy way to access this and make it easy. And that cross promotion of having really good rum that is in these products, that when you get a carton of Maine Mojito, when you've got that in place, then you can find that opportunity, and you realize that Brightwater was the base of it, and now you can put that together and do that, and we're able to do it in an all natural way. That's where I think RTDs are going their own subcategory craft moment, where you're getting better product and not that bad base spirit that has to be covered up with all sorts of flavors and sugars. just to be drinkable. And that's not going to produce a balanced cocktail, which is the biggest compliment we've heard is the benefit of that. And I'll go to one of our, as another example of this, when Whole Foods put their resets together for this year, one of the things they were looking for is more RTDs that were all natural, could pass their natural tests, natural product tests, and that were rum based. So it's something that was not hit as well as it could be. And we're really excited that we've been selected now in our home markets of Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. These are going to be in the Whole Food stores starting in May, and we're very excited about that. We've knocked it out of the park in Whole Foods in Portland, which is the only Whole Foods in Portland. If there were more, we'd be doing even better with that. But
That's
now moving
great.
into ones, and I will say, just for those that don't know, I'm originally from Dedham, Massachusetts, and the Whole Foods in Dedham is on the list of ones that are going to have our party packs. So, homies, please feel free to support a local boy made good on. And you'll get a good cocktail out of it. So it's something that we're really excited about. I didn't talk about the slide too much, but I did present it and I found it. So we've got that going.
I'm counting that as a win, Sam.
We should.
Uh, yeah. So the Whole Foods mention is an interesting one, and certainly been, a linchpin of our strategy has been to lean into that better for you space. And as you talked about the differentiators and Graham, about how we make it, about, using the natural ingredients. And a lot of people who, might be listening to this and don't live in Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts might be thinking, okay, well, that's great. And I wish you guys all the best. But, I live in California. I live somewhere, I live in DC, wherever you live. Um, what's next for Three of Strong? What are the plans? Why the raise now? And what are you planning to do? What are we planning to do with these funds? What's the point?
Well, the point there's multiple points, of course, but I think one that I would say off the top is, in the spirit space, the way that you're going to be successful, especially for someone that is born in a small state like Maine, is you have to own your home market, and we're doing really well in Maine. We are the best selling Maine brand of Maine producers of rum in the state by a large margin. Beyond that, the way that you grow is to move into other states. And right now, Massachusetts is the next step for us. We've been in New Hampshire for the past 4 years, and we're in the state liquor stores. They have size of sale tests that we've passed every 6 months. So I think it's really something that we are very pleased with how we've been able to do that. Massachusetts is a bigger market. It's twice the size of our other two markets combined. And with these funds, we're able to go spend more energy and time and resources to make sure that our market launch in Massachusetts is good, support our distributor down there, and continue to grow out. On a smaller scale, for if you're from anywhere, we currently have a direct-to-consumer right on our website, threeofstrongspirits.com, where you can pick up where you can actually order for 40 states. If you go on and place an order, it'll pull up your state. Hopefully, again, 40 states, you got good odds, and you can have the product shipped directly to you. So that's something that we definitely want to promote for people. But at the end of the day, this is funding our growth and allowing us to get into more markets and expand our footprint, which is the grand scale. In the grand scheme of things, we get asked a lot about what the investment benefit might be, and there are perks, and there are definitely things that are on the Start Engine site that you can reference. free hats, and you can see the branding is solid. So, definitely check it out. But that one, but at the same time, I think you get to be part of something that's growing and doing it the right way. And I find that very compelling to be doing that. At the end of the day, it's an investment. And while we obviously can't promise a specific return, the one thing I think that you're seeing in the growth of the space and as we grow as a player within it, what we expect will be the time at which people are going to recoup and benefit from their investment is probably a couple of years down the road. So don't use this if this is something you need, in 6 months. I wouldn't put the money in. Sorry, Dave. But I would say that what I would say is that we expect that our activity in the New England region is going to be sufficient that people are going to see it. They're going to be into the brand. They're going to want to be able to take this story to other areas. And we're totally willing to do that. So we expect that there'll be a strategic combination of some sort down the road. And I think that's really when you're going to get a chance to be not only to see a return on your investment, but also be part of an even better and growing brand presence. So Three of Strong is going strong with that, and we're really looking forward to seeing what that looks like. But the funds now are going to be really important for us getting to that point where we're at the scale that would make that all possible and attractive to people. It's our job to take those funds and make it happen. It's your job, if you choose to support us to get to that. So we're really excited about coming in. Again, no promises on what it could be, but the one thing we can promise is you're buying into something, and we're creating ambassadors around the country who are coming into our brand and finding a meaning to it beyond just a straight investment. And we're really excited to have you on board.
Absolutely. There's the raise closes. February 25th is going to be the last time you can make the investment. Start engine
11:59.
11:59 Eastern time, let's assume, PM. So just before midnight on the 25th, but please don't wait until then. Go to start.
Hurry!
Yeah, exactly. Startengine.com is where you can make the investment. If you've got any questions in the meantime, reach out. What's the email? Is it investor relations at threeofstrong.com?
IR. IR
IR.
at threeofstrongspirits.com.
IR at threeofstrongspirits.com with any questions. Happy to talk further with folks. Yeah, and thank you for taking the time to listen.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.